Hello and welcome to Concan Sports Center. I'm John.
I'm Bobby.
And I'm Josh.
And we're here to talk to you about the Week 10 highlights, the games that went by this week. And before we hop into the top 10, we're going to give a honorable mention, first of all, to the Duke at Pitt game. Because it was, hey,
it was a fight.
It really did seem like a basketball game when you look at the final score. It was. 51 to 48.
Both of those teams would probably normally score more points than
in basketball.
Yes.
It's a basketball score.
Anytime the game goes into double overtime, there's probably going to be more points.
Yeah.
It's going to be a higher scoring game, but Duke wins it. They're basically securing their spot inside that side of the ACC.
Yeah.
Sure. It looks like now, I think if Miami, because they have to play Florida State, I think that's another loss. Almost guaranteed. But
almost guaranteed,
that probably would solidify Duke.
Yeah. All right. So let's hop into number 10. And we want to talk about this one because of the ramifications of what happens with this.
And ECU was ranked. So
and you go ahead and say who it was. It was ECU. so ECU was at Temple, and the Owls took it to ECU and beat them. That's a big deal.
It was. For some teams.
An Owl takes down a Pirate.
So what does this mean? Does it mean that Marshall's finally in the top 25?
Well,
did they not make the playoff? I thought it was 23.
This is the day before. They come out with a playoff thing.
That's right. They haven't come out with it yet, so we'll see. It probably opens the door for maybe Boise.
Boise is up there,
somebody
and
else.
Marshall is probably somewhere. Sure. When you're 8-0, you have to eventually.
Now, if Boise were to lose, though, would that open the door for Marshall? There's nobody left. Who do they play?
Colorado State is higher ranked than Boise right now.
Yeah, well, because they're one loss.
Their only one loss is to Boise.
It's to Boise. That's it. Yeah.
So,
it's hard to tell. But
Rams. Rams. We've got Pirates and
not Pirates anymore.
Okay, the number 9 game was Oklahoma State, and they were at Kansas State, and Kansas State continues to do.
I looked at this game and it was 7-0 Oklahoma State, and I said, that's not going to stay. It didn't stay.
Wow.
What was the ending score? Was it 37?
48-14?
48-14.
Yeah.
Wow. Kansas State's impressing me week in and week out.
Yeah. I think if you look at it, I would not say by any stretch that the Big 12 is the same as the SEC, but I think top to bottom, it's a very well-rounded conference. They've got teams, West Virginia, these teams, both sides, whereas I feel like SEC is heavy on the West. But I feel like, man, you just turn around and there's a big game in the Big 12.
There isn't two sides, though. It's just one conference.
For Big 12, that's right.
Which makes it look,
Yeah, okay, the number 8 game was Arkansas versus number 1, Mississippi State. And Arkansas, once again, they made it a game, but didn't pull through.
You just cannot finish. Come on.
I'm thinking, okay,
they had a chance.
Maybe not this year, but next year, maybe look out for Arkansas a little bit more because they can compete with teams.
If they've got to get that elusive SEC win for Balema. It needs to happen for them.
And it might not even happen this year.
It might not because they've got 3, big SEC games here at the end of the season.
But coming back to that game, they had the 4th and goal stopped.
They did.
They couldn't get it in, and then at the end they had the chance. They got picked off. Gosh, I just feel bad for this team. They just come up so close. But got to finish.
All right, the number 7 game we had Stanford. That really, I think it's a rivalry game. Isn't this one a rivalry? Yeah. Stanford at Oregon. So normally Stanford gives them a hard time. We talked about that last week. They got destroyed this year.
Yeah, usually
45-16. That's a destruction.
The cardinal, the tree usually takes down the duck.
Didn't the two of you guys say that?
I thought
Stanford was
going to close. Oh, we did say Stanford.
You guys said
we said
Stanford.
That's terrible.
So Mariota, he still has a viable, Heisman shot here. I think he's on top.
Really,
I think he's on top for the Heisman. Because he had 250 in the air, 85 on the ground. Wow. So, and the boy's doing the job.
His stats might not be as amazing as past Oregon quarterbacks. He doesn't get 400 plus yards, but he doesn't mess up. He really doesn't mess up. I think he has maybe 1 pick this year or something, absurd like that. So
well, and I think Oregon, they continue to score big.
Will they make it to the playoffs?
Yeah,
I think. Well, it doesn't look like anybody else contending the back.
But this game was fairly close until third quarter when Oregon scored 21 points straight.
That happened in Michigan State too.
They knocked it out in the 4th. Yeah,
unless you have an offense that can score toe to toe with Oregon, like Arizona did.
Yeah. Eventually, you're going to knock it out.
Yeah. The number 6 game, we had Arizona, and they were facing UCLA, and they couldn't do it. UCLA, the Bruins were too strong, which I was sort of surprised.
It was low scoring.
It was low scoring, 17-7.
Arizona's supposed to have a great offense.
Yeah.
They scored a ton on Oregon. We were just talking about.
I think some of it has to do with just UCLA is still a good team. They've fallen off, but they had the expectations to be good. I compare maybe to like a South Carolina, a team that was ranked high at the beginning of the season and really has just faltered from expectations. But they still have good players. If you're ranked that high at the beginning of the season.
And Hundley.
Hundley still got.
He's a good quarterback. Of what he had almost 200 yards passing and 130 yards running. So I mean,
is Jack Miles still at UCLA?
Miles Jack.
Remember him?
Miles Jack.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so our number 5 game was the Thursday night game. Florida State, number 2 Florida State at Louisville.
Wow, I said Louisville was going to win this, and then I thought they would. I really did. Going to the fourth quarter, I was like, they could do this.
It looked like
it was basically a collapse in the third quarter, but it was still close entering the fourth. And I was like, they can do it. They did do it. They couldn't.
What is it with teams that play Florida State and that they come out strong and then they just, or Florida State comes out just awful and then they just turn some button on and then there they go, because it was a recipe for disaster.
But even so, I think one of the stats that really set the tone for the whole game for Louisville was that they converted 1 third down. Only 1 in the whole game. You can't win a game with that. I'm sorry. You've got to convert on those third downs.
But famous Jameis continues to lead his team.
He really does.
I mean, you can't, in my opinion, I know Mariota's leading the Heisman, and I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman any stretch, but is there any other quarterback you'd want on your team in the game's on the line? Aside from all that garbage he does on the side, I mean,
as far as talent-wise.
As far as talent-wise, I mean, he just.
I would honestly, him or Marcus Mariota. I think they're pretty close. But Mariota has more experience than he does, so.
Yeah, definitely more class.
Which is, honestly, that's a part of the hype.
It is. Yeah. Okay, the number 4 game, Utah was at Arizona State, and this was a close game, 19-16, and so Arizona State pulls this one off. Bobby, you called that one last week. It came down to field goals at the end. Gonzalez, the field goal kicker for Arizona State, he had the game-saving one right there at the end to tie it up, and then he had the game-winning in overtime.
I thought Utah was going to win this, and they kind of blew it for themselves.
Sure.
They just didn't do what they needed to do offensively,
which is really bad news. As they progress here.
I mean, they've lost 2 games this season now.
I give some credit to Arizona State because I thought they were pretenders. They're showing they can do it. I mean, next week they got a big game with Notre Dame. It's a big game for Notre Dame's really happy because they didn't look like anybody's left on their schedule.
Yeah.
And they got Arizona State now.
That's right.
Still on a roll.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
All right, the number 3 game. Big game. TCU at West Virginia.
Okay.
And, wow. I mean, it came down to the very end of the game. I mean, seconds left on the clock, field goal to finish it.
Where was West Virginia's defense? You can't let a Hail Mary happen with that little time left. And the quarterback just lobs up there and the receiver catches it.
Yeah.
Get the pass interference. Knock the dude for a loop. Anything but let him catch it.
And West Virginia's defense played so good all game. I felt like they got turnovers. They really kept them in the game. And they stayed ahead until the very end. And it's just... But again, I think Trickett still played well.
He did.
Again,
he's a good quarterback.
Not going to win the Heisman, but you take him off West Virginia, and I still say they don't go as far as they do.
No, I agree with you. I definitely agree with that. The number 2 game was Auburn at Ole Miss, and this was, it was a slugfest. And the thing, I don't know, Bobby, you called this when you said Auburn would get it.
I said
going for Ole Miss. The thing we definitely see, Ole Miss, they haven't allowed anybody to score more than 20 points the entire season. That's the most that was ever scored on by Texas A&M did that. And so here we go. Auburn scores 35, so by far the most that's been scored on them. Auburn can score.
Ole Miss blew this for it. Yeah, it really was. Especially what started was just Treadwell's injury, which if you get injured like that, you're not holding the ball no matter what. It's not his fault.
Because he was doing a great job in that game.
They were going to get the win if his leg had been broken. But when you get pain like that, you're not going to hold on to the football.
I don't think you can point this I don't think you can say this was, even though they gave 35 points, I don't think you say this is a bad job at Ole Miss defense. They played well. You're going to have to expect to give up points to Auburn. They're just a good offense, one of the best in the country. So actually, Ole Miss played well, but their offense, those 2 turnovers were just backbreakers.
No, I don't want to say bad Bo, but it's basically like a no Bo. He doesn't do anything in the past 2 games. It's just no mistakes, but nothing really like wow.
Nothing got that.
But when you have a defense that good, you don't have to.
Yeah,
in my opinion. I mean, maybe obviously in this game, but
this game you needed to.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's
needed to
2
be
losses,
dynamic.
right?
Yeah, it stinks because they're pretty much out of the playoff picture, and they're about as good a team as anybody in the country. I mean,
that's tough. That is tough. Okay, let's talk about our final game. Wow, we didn't even preview this one last week because we thought, this is a no-brainer, and yet you on the side said that, hey, you got to look out for Florida. And so Florida and Georgia played, and it looked like Georgia, I mean, outside of that initial Chubb getting the initial touchdown and running really, it didn't look like they were even there. Yeah. I mean, it was a
400 rushing yards for Florida.
Yeah. Both running backs had almost 200 yards apiece. And Florida threw for, 36 yards passing? They attempted 6 passes, completed 3. There's no way you should lose the game when that happens. But you can't count out a team. I don't know if the players really believe in Muschamp, but they sure played like they did. And it comes down to the wire. I mean, if Florida can string together a couple more wins, go into the Florida State showdown, iffy to win, but if they can make it a game, they might have saved his job.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, right now Missouri's leading in the East. They're the contender for the East,
which they won it last year. You know.
We just had a power attitude.
Right,
wow.
Well,
so that's it for our Week 10 highlights. And join us for Week 11.
Thank you for watching.